Oh my God. We are back with another episode of Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am joined by Matt Armstrong. Brian Baldwin is on special assignment in the Amazon looking for the last cannibals. And
You might have found them.
I gotta tell you, Matt, I gotta tell you, I I I have to take a break from the sensual world of Black Emmanuel. I was watching the movie last Wednesday and I am like, I can't do it anymore. I just can't. I have reached my limits of soft core silliness and recut Emmanuel films. But
Well, are you
with
pretty close to the end, or you still have a ways to go?
I still have to watch one, two, three, four, five, six, eight more movies.
Oh man, I feel like you've been you've been watching nothing but those, and there's still so many.
Well, one of them is the documentary about Joe D'Amato, and I'm looking forward to watching that. And from what I understand, it's only like an hour long, so I can just get that done in between movies. But yeah, I have reached. I've like it has basically ruined exploitation movies for me. Because put it this way, yesterday for the show I rewatched Fast Times and Valley Girl, which we're going to be talking about, and then I watched Airplane. I haven't seen Airplane in probably 20 years.
Yeah, probably the same.
Yeah, I mean, like I guess I could say I conquered my collection piece because I found the Blu-ray which was unopened that I bought at Best Buy when they still sold everything for
Nice.
$17.99 was the original price with the slipcover.
Oh, nice.
And I watched that and I'm laughing throughout all of it. And I'm like, there's no way this movie could be made today. It's so fucking, it's wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like man, Leslie Nielsen always seemed such a wholesome guy, but every movie that he's in that I've watched lately, yeah, I don't think it would fly today.
But they're I after watching it, there were two band names that I don't know how no one came up with after the movie came out. First is Beaver's Mom Speaks Jive, and then when Leslie Nielsen is lying to everyone on the plane and his nose grows, Leslie Nielsen's nose boner. I don't know how no one had come up with that before.
There's got to be someone out there.
Yeah, if there was, please let us know because and send us your 7-inch single because that's
Yeah.
all you probably made. What else? What else? So as we recorded this, we had the launch of Vinegar Syndrome's new adult site. How do you pronounce it?
I think it's Melanie's. Melanot? Melon.
It's French. It's French. It's all I know. It's French.
Oh, so it's then it's probably Melosi, if I had to guess.
Yeah, but don't do the accent. That's cultural appropriation.
All right, then
um,
it's Melusine.
how do you feel about their initial slew of titles?
Um, Once again, I know nothing about any of them. I'm pretty interested in this James Bond one. Um, and I think the packaging looks really cool on their actual first one, the Tiffany Lust one.
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed that I just bought two of these Cecil Howard movies, and
Which
now
ones?
they're
Which ones did you buy?
um I want to say Scoundrels and no, it's Firestorm and I can't think
Spitfire.
of the other one.
Spitfire.
Spitfire, yeah.
So then you'll be getting them with all the extras because the Vinegar Syndrome reissues will not have all the pamphlets and cool stuff that came with it.
Oh, really?
From
Okay.
what I heard.
Yeah, I haven't opened them. I think I got them off of it was either Diabolic or Grindhouse, but they said they had found some in their warehouse with slips, so I grabbed them. But now that they're on here, they've got actual spine numbers. You know how I feel about those.
Yeah, I'm not rebuying them. I love Scoundrels. I don't need with the same slip cover but a heavier stock.
Hmm.
Also, the extras that came with it were pretty cool. So
One
distribute.
thing
Oh,
I was gonna say, one thing I was disappointed with is, so they've got the going out of print sale on here,
yep.
and all of those titles are nowhere to be found on a checklist. So I have no idea what I have, what I don't. I'm trying to scour through my boxes here and put them on Letterbox so I can see what I actually have. But yeah, took the time to do the checklist before, and now it's gone.
When do you think you'll watch any of these movies?
One day, maybe I'll watch one tomorrow.
Well, I think we should do one for next week.
Which one do you think?
The double exposure of Holly.
Okay, down for that.
All right, and we'll choose another movie too, so we're just not talking about smut. We'll figure that one out before the end.
Something real wholesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I got my Kino stuff in this week after a long fucking ordeal. So it was supposed to come in last Sunday, and I got a message when I looked before I left for my show. Actually, I didn't have a show last week. Before I left to go run some errands, I checked to see when it was going to be delivered, and I got the message, tried to deliver, no response. I'm like, I was home all freaking day. But it told me which post office it was at to come pick it up. It was a post office nowhere near my house. So I left for lunch a little bit early and went there, and they're like, we never had that package to begin with. So I was there for an hour trying to get to the bottom of it when some woman came with a piece of paper. Oh, yeah, we had it. Wrong post office, and sent it off to another post office. So then, which was the one like really close to my house. So I went there. They're like, we don't have it. I'm like, fuck. I'm going home to start writing this language to start going to USPS.com to write the lost package. And it was at my front door.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I did watch a really good movie out of there. It's called Winter Kills. I know when we do our finds of the year, that'll be one of them. So I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay.
So what do you think about Vinegar Syndrome proper's August announcements?
I mean, it's cool that it's a lot of movies. I mean, a double feature, a box set. And it's one that I've actually seen before with Killer Condom.
I have never seen Killer Condom before. I have never heard of it, but now I'm so happy. You might say I'm erect that I will have it in 4K.
Yeah. I think we watched it on a DVD a long time ago. Yeah, I think it's a cool one.
What do you think about after all these years, the Cardona collection volume?
Yeah. Are his movies any good? I've heard everyone just complain about them, but I mean,
I will say the first set wasn't my favorite box set, though. I did enjoy Vacations of Terror 1, which his family directed. But this movie has one on it called Under Siege, which Tarantino and Roger Avery talked about on their Video Archives podcast. And it sounds like this movie is completely and utterly bonkers, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And Beaks just seems interesting. It's not just Beaks, it's Beaks the movie.
Yeah. Was there like a TV show?
I have no idea. I have no idea. The Amazon Jail one looks sleazy. But
yeah,
the one I'm most excited about is the Vinegar Syndrome Labs Guest House Paradiso.
Yeah, that one looks good. I've never seen it, but I guess this is their first one that's not super old, isn't it?
I mean, it's
I think it's 90s, I thought, but the other ones were like 50s or 50s and
no, no,
60s,
no.
right?
This was 90 and the Polish films were 80s.
Oh, okay, those are VSL, yeah.
So Guest House Paradiso, if you're not familiar, is based on the BBC show Bottom, starring Ade Edmondson and Rick Mayall. And they couldn't use the same character's names for the movie, which is too bad
Hmm.
because Ade Edmondson's character was called Eddie Hitler, and he would always go, "No relation." But here's the thing that was weird about this movie is they in England they advertised it as the Bottom movie, and I don't know. I used to have a bootleg VHS of it. Um, when my friend Mark Herman was paralyzed, and I gave him a bunch of VHSs to watch, and the whole entire Bottom series and the live shows in the movie. He had since passed away, and I never asked for them back.
Hmm.
I do have the complete Bottom series on DVD. Hopefully, that'll get upgraded at some point. But no, this movie is phenomenal, and it's also one of Simon Pegg's first acting roles.
Oh, cool. What was the deal? They just couldn't get the rights, but wanted to make a movie out of it.
That I don't know because they were able to market it as a Bottom movie.
Yeah. Hmm,
So,
that's weird.
but this is fantastic. It's just Bottom was like the British version of the Three Stooges, but there were only two of them, and they were both Moes. But yeah,
Nice.
what partner label stuff did you order?
You ready to have your mind blown?
None.
I got Heroic Times. End of list.
I only
The
bought
Death
one.
Crocodile one.
I only bought one as well. Terminal,
Agfa.
the Terminal Degeneration, the films of John Mortasugu. I've actually seen one of his movies before. And
One that's on here.
there's several movies. This is like a 3 disc set with like 6 movies on it.
Hmm.
I've seen My Degeneration, which is the first one. I have not seen Mod Fuck Explosion, which I hear is phenomenal.
It's a phenomenal name for sure.
Yeah, but I was excited when I bought this. It was expensive, but I also wanted to give more of my money to the smut.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just saw how much it is. I didn't realize that before.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. That'll probably be the first thing I watch. I still have not watched any of this month's Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I've watched partner label shit, but
Mm-hmm.
none of the. I'm not a fan of Gorgo, but I have to give it a chance. I have to give.
Yeah, I mean, I am interested to watch that. Um, but yeah, I haven't. I took them out to log them, and that was it. I haven't even opened them or anything. Haven't even looked at them.
I opened the 10 Killer one, thinking I might watch it, but then I watched Airplane instead.
I
Because
didn't realize it was 4K. So there was two 4Ks last month.
yep, yep, yeah.
Nice.
All right. So I'm very excited about the movies we're going to talk about today, and please forgive me if I go on little tangents about each one because these movies are very important to me when I was growing up, and even more important, these movies are the history of a friendship. So I hope my friend says he wants to listen to this episode, but I'm just be warned, Eric, if you do, I am going to have some embarrassing stories on here.
So it's a history of your friendship with Eric.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Notice how he doesn't have a nickname to himself.
I know
He's
that's
my oldest friend. We've been friends since we were babies. So He's like the OG friend.
Okay.
So the first movie we're going to talk about, I'm just going to bluntly say there's no plot to it. It's a year in a school year, story of a school year. It is Fast Times at Ridgemont High from 1982. And did you know Fast Times was based on a true story?
I did not. I knew it's from a book, right?
Yep. Yep.
I did not know it was a true story though. No.
Did you ever see Almost Famous?
Yeah.
So the main character of that movie was based on Cameron Crowe, who when he was still basically underage went to work for Rolling Stone magazine and went on tours with bands like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. And at some point, either he gave Rolling Stone the idea or Rolling Stone gave him the idea, because he still looked so young, to go spend a year in high school. And he did. They talked about the principal to make sure everything was cool. And by the end of the year, the principal forgot that he was a journalist doing a story. So he actually became friends with all these people, started writing down their stories, and then at the end of the year revealed to them that he was a journalist and did interviews about them, about the things that happened. So Fast Times at Ridgemont High, while there is no overall narrative, it's just the stories about these characters. So the real Stacy lost her virginity at a dugout, which we will get to later on when we discuss it. So this was a true story based on true people, because again, this was originally supposed to be in Rolling Stone magazine, but it wasn't. It was a book. I used to own the book. I have lost it over time, and it's one of those books that would be too expensive to rebuy. So somebody should re-release it, because it's fantastic. But Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the movie, is about a ton of different characters. You have Stacy Hamilton, her older brother Brad, Stacy's best friend Linda, Mike Damone, Mark Ratner, Frederick Forrester's character who plays the foot Jefferson. Who else do we have?
Don't forget about Jeff Spicoli.
Jeff Spicoli and his buds, and also Brad and his buds. And it takes us through what it was like to be in high school in the early 80s. I think there are some parts of this movie that are fantastical. Most of the stuff that involved Jeff Spicoli. Like, he did not exist in the same universe as Stacy and Brad and all the other characters. He was just like an extraterrestrial visitor who just happened to show up one day. I mean, he's been stoned since the 10th grade or the 4th grade. I can't remember, even though I watched it yesterday. But I think
hopefully it wasn't 4th grade.
All we know is his dad is a TV repairman. So basically, this story starts where any good story starts, at the Ridgemont Mall. Exteriors filmed at the Santa Monica Mall, and I have walked through that entrance many times to We Got the Beat. Had it on my headphones.
Nice.
Yeah. And we meet all the real important characters. We see Brad as he's walking into All American Burger. Stacy and Linda work at Perry's Pizza. Fun fact, in the book, they worked at a place called Swenson's, which is an ice cream restaurant, ice cream and diner place. And Brad worked at Carl's Jr.'s. Yeah. All American Burger was a real place too. I've eaten there many years ago.
I wonder if there's a real famous place in Ohio called Swenson's. It's known for like burgers and ice cream and
It's
stuff. Or if
different. It's
a,
different. This was a
is it?
national chain. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, we learn two things: that Stacy is played by the wonderful Jennifer Jason Leigh, Linda played by the even more wonderful, like just as equally wonderful Phoebe Cates. Stacy wants a boyfriend. So, and then comes what was his name? Ron? I can't remember his last name. I want to say Swanson, but that's from Parks and Rec. Ron,
Um, you're talking about the older guy?
the stereo salesman, Ron.
Yeah, Ron Johnson.
Ron Johnson.
Ron Swanson. That's close.
um, Ron Johnson quite possibly has the worst pickup line of anybody. Are you working? Are you hardly? What is it? Are you working or hardly working? I can't remember the joke.
Yeah.
But
It's yeah, it's like what every dad manager says in a restaurant that I've worked in. It's, are you working hard or hardly working?
yeah, and then he wants a meatball sub, a Coke, and her phone number. I will also say this. First of all, that is a terrible order when you're trying to pick someone up. And I gotta hand it to casting. The people in this movie all looked age appropriate. Like Jennifer Jason Leigh looked like a 14 or 15-year-old.
Yeah, which is even creepier on Ron Johnson's part because
Well, we're gonna get to Ron. We're gonna get to Ron. Also at the mall, we, as I said, we meet Brad. He goes into to All American Burger, which it seems like it's part of the mall, and then in another part, it's not. It's a standalone restaurant.
yeah, that is weird.
And that's when Spicoli and his buds come in, played by Anthony Edwards. Is that his name from ER?
I believe so, yeah. Anthony. You're talking about the red-haired guy?
No, that is Eric Stoltz from
Yeah.
who I'm pretty sure in this movie played Lance, the drug dealer from Pulp Fiction. which sets these two movies in the same universe, because the character doesn't have a name. It's just stoner dude. Or Spicoli's butt. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And they take off their shirts is when they get in. No shirts, no service, no dice. Which is one of the greatest lines in film history. So then we start the first day at Ridgemont, and things are going smooth. Things are going smooth, except for Spicoli, who is late to Mr. Hand's class. Now, if you notice, Mr. Hand always said aloha, and there's really no backstory for that. In the book, he was a huge fan of Hawaii 5-0.
Well, that would have been nice to throw in there.
Yeah, well, probably too much time. He was a superfluous character, and one of the few adults that we see in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because we very rarely see a second of Stacy's mom, and that's it. We don't even see the principal. We see two teachers and Stacy's mom and Dennis Taylor at the All American Burger,
mm-hmm.
and the various managers and customers.
Right.
So we meet him. Brad goes into the back and starts frying fries. Again, the book, he was proud of his skills as a fryer. We also meet Mark Damone, Mark Ratner and Mike Damone. In the book, Damone was not a ticket scalper. That was a whole other character. So, but we do meet Damone, and we know Rat hates working at the movie theater. And it also kind of shocks me that back then smoking was upstairs to the left.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember smoking in a lot of movie theaters. It probably was and
Yeah,
scarred my mind, but
I don't remember it in movie theaters either. I remember it in everywhere else, but I mean, I guess it's just because we didn't go up and to the left.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it was probably illegal in Michigan because children went to the movies.
Mm.
I didn't go to no grindhouse or porno houses back in the 80s. I was too young.
We were
Um,
pretty. Ohio was pretty late to get behind all the smoking stuff.
last year.
I mean, it's within I'd say maybe 7, 8 years ago they finally got rid of it in like restaurants. You had to be like 10 feet away from the front entrance.
I was pissed when they told me I couldn't smoke because I was going up on the Gemini at Cedar Point. I just love feeling that smoke in my face as we go down. So we learn during this scene is that back when we were introducing with the wall that Mark Ratner doesn't like working on the side of the mall because it's not where any of the action is. So we go back to the first day of school. Mr. Hand kicks Spicoli out because he was late. Spicoli called him a dick. Then we go right to the cafeteria where Linda is saying, I heard someone pulled a knife at Mr. Hand. Stacy corrects her. She talks about the gossip. And we then get a blowjob lesson, which back then I thought was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching, I'm like, those are not good blowjobs.
Yeah.
And
Especially the toothy one.
yeah, but here's the thing, and it made me realize, and I've realized this before, but I think it's something that we need to talk about, is that these kids talked a good game of sex. Like there's that scene where Brad is talking to his girlfriend, talking to Arnold that he has a good sex life. Then he asks his girlfriend if they want to go to the point, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "I don't want to use sex as a." Did she say weapon?
I think she said a tool.
Yeah. So we kind of learned right there that Brad wasn't getting any.
Yeah.
And Linda, who claims to be this expert because she had a fiance in Chicago, which is a whole load of other problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I had questions about that whole thing, but
And Mark Ratner and Stacy were in the same science class, and we learned they were going to see a dead body at the end of the year. And one of the girls who cultivated the one out of the three girls who cultivated the Pat Benatar look that year was saying she did not want to go. So Mark is talking to Damone and saying he's fallen in love. Damone's not having any of it because last time Ratner fell in love with the girl at the photomat, he spent $40 on film and that didn't even have a camera and didn't even talk to her. We've all been there. We've all been there.
Yep.
Which made,
Yep.
but that is where we learn from Damone the attitude. You don't care if she comes, lays, stays, or prays. That, my friend, is the attitude. And it's also one of the great lines because later on we will have proven that Damone is also not good with the ladies.
Yeah. He might have talked the best game out of anyone.
Yeah. All right. So then we keep on going back and forth to the mall. Stacy goes on her date with Ron Johnson. All right. Good for Ron for trying to cover his bases of asking her if she's really 19 years old when they go to the dugout. But first of all, what kind of guy takes a girl to a dugout?
Ron Johnson.
I mean, look, when I lost my virginity, I did not want to be looking up at something that said surf Nazis.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny. I had to look back real quick to see when that movie was made.
But here's the thing. I think there's a whole nother story going on with Ron Johnson. Why didn't he take her back to his apartment? Did Ron Johnson have a wife and family? Did Ron Johnson live with his mom?
Mm-hmm.
There are questions this movie did not answer.
I bet he was probably with mom.
Yeah, I guess you don't make a lot of money as a stereo salesman in
Yeah.
1981 or 82, whenever this movie was filmed. But I will go back and think this might be the scene where she is with Ron Johnson and she's losing her virginity to the music of Jackson Brown's Somebody's Baby. Much like in Dazed and Confused, when Matthew McConaughey's character walked into the arcade to that Bob Dylan song.
Mm-hmm.
This was perfect. I mean, the notes kind of matched up to the feeling that was going on, and it was such a good scene. And it's also shows how good of an actress Jennifer Jason Leigh is, because the look of unfulfillment, pain, and this isn't what I was expecting was all over her face.
Right.
And then when she's talking to Stacy about it, or Linda about it, and saying how much it hurt, and Linda saying, no, it'll get better eventually. It's like that would not have instilled confidence in me. We go to Spicoli getting pizza in class.
That part was funny when it panned over to him and he's got that one of the weirdest outfits on I've ever seen. Was it like a turtleneck with a poncho over it?
It looked like he was about to go invent hacky sack right after that. But I think, I mean, again, Teller Negron is the pizza delivery guy. Is the pizza guy. And the way Spicoli just basically used logic to debate his idea with Mr. Han shows that Spicoli is a lot smarter than we think he is.
Yeah.
But then Mr. Han uses logic. If it is our time, you're right, it is our time, and we should enjoy pizza. And he selects other kids in the class to enjoy it. Brad gets fired from All American Burger. Sad. Then it's great how none of his buds came up to stick up for him, including Arnold. It's so typical. All right, I'm not taking the fall for this one.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Arnold did come out and saw what was happening and just turned right back around.
It's also great when Brad is wiping off Eat Big Hairy Pussy off the mirror in the bathroom while rehearsing his breakup speech with his girlfriend. I'm forgetting something. I'm sorry for just jumping around. Mike Damone in the parking lot selling tickets. First of all, the tickets to Van Halen and Blue Oyster Cult were so cheap.
I know.
$12.50 a pair.
And that was, did they say like the first 10 rows or something?
Yes, first 5 rows.
Oh yeah.
When we meet Charles Jefferson as he pulls into the parking lot, and Damone is going, yeah, I helped him pick out the car. Alumni bought it for him. And Charles Jefferson gives him nothing. He scowls at him like, don't touch the fucking car. Then later on in the movie, he does come up to Damone with his little brother in tow and wants tickets for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Damone hasn't had them in yet. And he says, "I'll get it down for you and your little brother." I also called him a good-looking kid. This is right around the time Rat asked Stacy out on their first date, and Damone gave him his rules to a cutout of Debbie Harry. And I think these rules are completely and utterly ridiculous. Like, I'm sure it was stuff his older brother Art told him, but they were ridiculous. Like, listen to side one of Zeppelin 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Ratner picks Stacy up, they're listening to side 2 in the car. And all right, I will say this date scene was the way the restaurant was art directed made them look even more like kids with how big the booths were.
Yeah.
And just the way the camera was kind of the way the camera framed them. It was like every awkward first date I had in high school. And it wasn't that many. But it just kind of had that atmosphere. Like going to a restaurant you thought was fancy.
Yeah.
Like I remember going to Red Lobster because I thought it was fancy.
I mean,
it's high school fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then comes the most awkward moment that he realized he forgot his license. This movie taught me to never leave anywhere without my license and have to call a friend or a parent to come and give it to me. But as I'm older now and watching it, it's like you drove your sister's car without a license. If it was wrecked, do you know how liable you would be? Insurance would not cover it.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he didn't stick around after it was broken into and the stereo got stolen. So he calls Mike Damone, and Mike, again, for someone who's so cool, is sitting home on a Friday or Saturday night watching reruns of Leave It to Beaver. Classic episode, by the way. And he's like, I don't know. He doesn't want to go help him out. He eventually does. They've ordered too many refills of Coke. He comes by and, hey, I found your license, and hands it to him. And it wasn't smooth at all.
Yeah. They've been piling up Cokes, obviously not leaving for a reason. And as soon as that happens, they're like, okay, you want to leave?
Yeah. And then they go back to Stacy's house. Stacy slips into something more comfortable. And Mark Ratner, who we are informed is a wuss, part wimp and part pussy. Wussy. Classic line. It just is the scene. And again, Amy Heckerling is a really good director, and she kind of, tells this story that Stacy wants to have sex. But Ratner is scared, and he just leaves, making Stacy think that he doesn't like her. And it's such a sad scene. And when you're that age and you're watching her a little younger, you're like, oh, what a pussy. And then it's like, oh man, I've actually done that too.
Yeah.
Like I was working at a retail store, Kmart, when I was a kid, and one of my coworkers who had a reputation asked me out. And I was too scared because I was a virgin at that time. And I was thinking I should have, I could have probably gone out. I should have gone out with a girl who doesn't have a reputation like that. I should have gone out with her. It was a big mistake, but I was scared. And this is just something that happens. I mean, I know from your wife telling me it happens to you every night.
Every single night.
Yeah. Then we have this, again, all out of order. We then have the scene with Charles Jefferson's little brother and Spicoli driving his car. You see the new Playboy? No. Bo Derek's tits. I love sex. And then they get into a car crash. Spicoli can't fix it. Again, showing that Spicoli might be the smartest person in the movie. Basically says Lincoln brought it back. Lincoln did the vandalism, which pumped Charles Jefferson up so much that he won the big game, 46-0.
Yeah, that was one surprising thing for me at this movie is Forrest Whitaker had to have started shrinking in the past 10 years because going back to this, he is just a mountain of a man. And he looks like a little hobbit nowadays.
Yeah. He's living off that fat Star Wars and Marvel money. Then we kind of come to the turning point of the film. Mike and Mark crash Stacy's pool party. They start splashing around. Linda sits on the diving board, doesn't want to get wet. Then she dives. And then before she dives in, Brad comes home. He's now working at a fish place. The character who started the film so happy now looks so downtrodden.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the bathroom. And he starts looking out at Linda. And he does what most every boy who watched this movie did. Jerked off to her. She dives in, gets water in the ear and conveniently needs a Q-tip, goes inside, walks in on Brad as he's wanking it. And the look on her face is, again, really good acting. But Brad's line, doesn't anyone ever knock anymore?
Yeah.
Is just so, it's, again, really good delivery. And I think a great director like Amy Heckerling was able to deliver something like this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this was the scene where Stacy started liking Damone. And we see her drawing in her notebook with Damone's picture of him and her. He walks her home from school and says, I think I like you. Damone's kind of interested. Damone is not a good friend.
He does violate the bro code for sure.
But also, again, this scene with Stacy and Damone in the pool house, again, breaks down his character completely. That he is this guy who's knowledgeable. That was probably the first time he ever had sex because he lasted so amount. And then he asked her if she felt him orgasm. And she went, I think so. But much like in parallel to the scene with her and Ron Johnson, the song Somebody's Baby, the reprise of it comes on. And it's a very shortened version. And I think it's kind of interesting is when he orgasm is when the Jackson Browne hits the high notes in the song. And then Robert Romanus, the actor, the look on his face is, holy fuck, I just screwed over my best friend. And he got the fuck out of there. Once again, leaving Stacy unfulfilled. And it's kind of not very far. We learn Stacy is pregnant. She tells Damone. Damone does not take it well. She says it's $150 at the free clinic. He then laughs. Well, that doesn't sound like free. She laughs at that little joke. And she only wants him to pay half. Good for her. They both take responsibility. And Damone fucking ghosts her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I haven't seen this movie in forever, and when that part came up, I didn't remember it, and I right away thought that she was just making it up, just to like, do that little thing like, oh, you gotta stay with me. I haven't heard from you in a while. You gotta stay with me now. I'm pregnant. And I was like, when it was real, I was like, oh man, very serious for this 15-year-old to be pregnant right now.
And yeah, she's going like the worst thing. Damone is trying to get the money, but he can't. Where's all the money from all the tickets that he scalped?
Yeah.
It doesn't add up. And then, excuse me, she asks her brother for a ride because Damone's not showing up. And says she's going to the bowling alley. Then when she thinks he's long gone, she crosses the street, but Brad sees her. And then it was one of the few emotional moments between brother and sister, the kind of bonding at the end of it. Like, again, one thing the movie left out that the book had in it, that Brad and Stacy had really strict parents.
Yeah, which the movie did not
Again, well,
come across that way.
the movie, well,
I guess mostly just because they weren't there. It's like,
again, the adults are de-emphasized because they are not
Yeah.
the story. The kids are the story.
right.
And then we find out that Damone's a little prick because Linda just goes full Karen on him, rightfully so. Puts it on his car, his locker, basically ruins his life. Him and Ratner get into a fight at the gym, almost get into a fight, and their friendship is over. And it, again, very interesting story of Ratner going to how he always defends Damone. Like, I have a feeling that Damone has a bad reputation around the school, and Rat has to defend their friendship.
Yeah, I think so.
In the book, it talks about how and why they became friends. They were working at some like an amusement park, and they were both working at a food stand or just doing cleanup janitorial stuff, and that's how they met. They bonded from there. But then we're towards the end of the school year. We go to the trip to the hospital. We see little babies, then we go down to the morgue where we learn it's $25 if you're a homeless bum to donate your body to science. And as they're walking into the morgue, Spicoli's there. Are you in my class? Today I am. And Vargas just gives that look like, okay. And Mark and Stacy get a chance to kind of bond. And then we're at the last dance of the school, the end of school bash, not prom, the end of school bash. And before Spicoli is really stoned, hits his head with his new Vans that shows how stoned he is. What's that? That's my skull. And then Mr. Hand shows up because it seemed like Spicoli only wasted 8 hours of his time.
Yeah.
I'd be more worried about his truancy at this point. And they go through an impromptu history lesson. And I think one of the greatest moments of that scene is when he goes, Mr. Hand asks him to take out his book. He goes, it's in my locker. And then Hand pulls one out of his bag, and this look of depression just falls on his face. I don't know if Sean Penn did any acting before this movie. I don't know what his history is, but it was kind of a prelude to how great of an actor he became.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the history lesson. They go to the dance. The band is singing Wooly Bully. He knows the words to that song. And he starts singing along with the band. Ratner and Arnold meet Mr. Vargas's wife, and she is extremely hot for Mr. Vargas. Then we end up back at the mall where we started, where Stacy doesn't think she can work another summer there, and she's not looking for sex, she's looking for love. Her and Ratner seem to have gotten back together, and according to the final credit scenes, they had a long relationship but never went all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Rat must have had some blue balls. Then we come to the moment where Brad regains his status, where he foils a robbery at the store because Spicoli is there, went to the bathroom and interrupts the robbery, letting Hamilton basically take the coffee and stop the crime in action. Then we get little updates of what happened to all the characters afterwards. Brad was made manager. Stacy and Ratner in a relationship. Linda went to college in Riverside, ended up in a relationship with her abnormal psych professor. And then Spicoli rescued Brooke Shields and blew all his money on Van Halen playing his birthday party. And Mr. Ham thinks everybody's on drugs.
And Mike was busted for scalping.
And ended up working at 7-Eleven, which was a joke in the movie that made no sense.
Yeah.
I think this is a great movie, and again, a lot of it is my friend Eric introducing me to it. Like for weeks he was telling me all about it, and he said, "Hey, I recorded it. Come on over and sleep over and we'll watch it." So after his parents went to bed, we went and watched it because, there were boobs in it.
Yes,
but again,
there were.
The older I get, the more I realize Fast Times is a pretty tame film.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good film, but it's a really tame movie. It's, with the exception of Spicoli, who plays his character with broad laughs, this is just one step above a after school special, but with a kicking soundtrack.
Yeah, it definitely did have that. But yeah, I kind of felt the same way. It was kind of, other than the swimming pool scene and I guess the dugout, it was pretty tame all around.
But it's such a good movie, and it launched the careers of so many people. Sean Penn, Forrest Whitaker, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Nicolas Coppola, who we'll be talking about our next film as Nick Cage, Eric Stoltz, Anthony Edwards. I mean, this movie launched so many careers, and for that, it's significantly important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Going back to the tame part, I was very surprised that it was rated R. I feel like back then you really had to do some stuff in a movie to get it rated R.
Well, you got to remember there was no PG-13 at this point.
Oh no,
No,
just PG right to R.
Yep.
Oh, well, I guess
the
that
movie
makes sense.
The word "fuck" was said several times in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a lot of boobs.
Yeah.
And you see Mike Damone's junk, like it's a full-on dick shot.
Really? I don't think I saw that.
When he is taking off his pants in the pool house, it's a dick shot. I had never noticed that before.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
He went full nude. I will say also, Robert Romanus, good for you. Good for you. You were very excited during that scene. But it's a movie that has an enduring legacy to it. Like every now and then my friend Eric will text me just a random quote from Fast Times. And I think it's, while the movie is a time capsule of an LA that no longer exists, it's also a story that everyone who's been to high school can live through.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference now is they did not blast their stuff on social media
Yeah.
and take selfies throughout the film.
Yeah, which character do you think you related to the most?
Let me ask you, which character do you think I related to the most?
I'm gonna say I mean, I would maybe before I would have said Spicoli, but I don't know now.
I'm Ratner.
Ratner, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I was bad with women in high school. I'm only slightly better now, but I was bad with women in high school. I was a nerd. I didn't have a cool friend like Damone. But which character would you consider yourself?
I probably related most with Brad, just because I spent my whole life working in restaurants and I've made that mistake he made a couple times where, you're feeling good and you're like, oh, I'm gonna break up with this girl and move on to something better, and then something bad happens and you're like, oh man, good thing I've still got this good girl, and then she breaks up with you.
She uses the same exact logic as him.
Yeah. Yeah, felt like that was very relatable.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Once you get a girlfriend, you're like, I can do so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Girls are looking at me now. I am forbidden because I am in a relationship.
Yeah.
All these girls want me. And the second you break up, no, they
It's like,
want
where
me.
did everybody go?
I thought we were in love. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, this movie just came to me at the right point in my life. I was still in middle school, ready to go into high school. And I thought high school was going to be a lot easier than middle school. And compared to like other high school movies or shows like Saved by the Bell, this one showed how difficult high school was.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't do it in a mean way like Kids. It did it in a way that was relatable because it showed the mistakes kids made and the consequences of those mistakes, except for Spicoli, who somehow got out of this movie perfectly, utterly untainted. He graduated. He passed his history class, which I have to ask, how did he know? Like when he said there's his history, I know because there's a globe in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a geography class, Spicoli.
Yeah.
Um, how many bong hits would you give this movie?
Um, I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna go 4.5 bong hits. I think the only thing that kind of didn't get that last half star for me was A, Nicolas Coppola did not say one single word, and B, I just wanted like I guess not that I really wanted it. I just wish there was more of a, I don't know, cohesive story, but I think that would take away from what it is kind of.
The thing is, they tried to have a cohesive story,
Mhm.
and that was with the relationships with all the characters. This movie is a relationship. Is all about relationships, and I think it worked. I think if you tried to have like, um, what's a high school movie like American Pie.
Mhm.
While I like American Pie, it was about the story was Jim, and all the
Right.
other characters were on the fringes of his story because they were all having the same fucking we got to lose our virginity by prom night. Allowing us to explore where every character is a main character in their story, I think makes the movie that much more entertaining.
Mhm.
I will give this movie 5 bong hits because
Nice.
it's one of those films that I can watch all the time. It's a comfort film, but it's also one where I keep on noticing new things from it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give one piece of information before we go on to our second feature. In one of the interviews or in the commentaries, it's mentioned that David Lynch was once considered to be a director for this movie. I would
Ooh.
love to go to that earth where that happened.
That would be interesting.
It would, no matter what, it would still be a cult classic.
Yeah.
So our next feature is Valley Girl, and as I said, Nicolas Coppola becomes Nick Cage and is the star of this movie. But both movies took place in the Valley of California, of the Los Angeles Southland. Um, both movies to use malls to as a backdrop, and yeah, I let's talk about Martha Coolidge's version of Romeo and Juliet.
So just to start with, how much do you miss malls?
All right, I'm gonna
Because
tell you.
even like I'm younger than you, and even when I was growing up, like if you wanted to do something, you went to the mall and you hung out. You could do anything there.
All right, I remember when I was 13, every Friday night, my mom or Eric's mom would drive us to the mall so we could go try to pick up women, girls, and we failed every time. We failed. We'd go eat dinner at one of the restaurants and walk around, maybe do some shopping. We failed. I miss certain parts of mall culture.
Mm-hmm.
I miss like being young and going to malls and thinking it would be the perfect night and spending my parents' money. But for the most part, I don't miss mall culture at all.
Yeah, I always miss that that feeling of the way that it was, but anymore, like I try as hard as I possibly can to not ever have to go to a mall. Which is like it just makes me kind of sad sometimes because like every weekend I would beg my parents to take us to walk around, go through the stores, play in the arcade, like whatever was there. And now it's just like we have a big mall maybe 7 minutes away from us, and I can't tell you the last time I was in it.
I was in a mall probably about 6 weeks ago because there was a Target in there and I needed to go get something at Target. And then I went to get food. I went to what's the Chinese restaurant that's in every mall? No,
Sakura.
Panda Express.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I went and got some Panda Express, and then I left the mall. There was no FYE in there. Otherwise, I would go flip through stuff and like I'm not spending this
Oh
much money.
man. KB Toy Store. Do you have those?
You had those.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Then all the malls were anchored with Macy's, J.C. Penney, and Sears.
Mm-hmm.
One of those companies is Macy's still around, so is Sears or J.C. Macy's and Penny's is still around.
Mm-hmm.
Sears is not.
Oh, good
Okay.
times.
So let's go talk about Valley Girl. Valley Girl is again a Romeo and Juliet story, and I got to pull up the characters' names because I am stupid and old, and I did not take any notes when I was watching these yesterday.
You talking just the two main people?
No, all right, Valley Girl 1983. So we have Deborah Foreman as Julie, Nicolas Cage as Randy, Elizabeth Daly as Lauren, Michael Bowen as Tommy, the ultimate Val dude. Cameron Dye as Fred. Heidi Holliker as Stacy. Michelle Mernick as Susie. Leigh Purcell as Beth. Colleen Camp and Frederick Forrest as Steve and Sarah Richmond, Julie's hippie parents who own a grody health food store. So, all right, I'm going to go give a little bit of my history with this film. And at some point in the early 80s, America had Valley Girl fever. What? Do you know why? Do you know why?
I do not. Yeah.
Because Frank Zappa's daughter, Moon Unit Zappa, recorded a song called Valley Girl, which was basically an insult to Valley Girls.
What is her name?
Moon Unit Zappa. But the song became a hit. All of a sudden, girls in every city who had never been to the San Fernando Valley were Valley Girls. So I'm guessing this movie was made to capitalize on the song. I don't know that for a fact. But here's the plot in an overall statement. Julie Richmond is a Valley girl who had it all. She had clothes, popularity, good looks, and she had Tommy. No other Val dude could touch the guy. No other Val dude could touch the guy. But she wasn't happy in the relationship. So when they're at the mall, they're in the food court, they're talking, and what's the guy's name? Brad. Brad was there. Different Brad, not Hamilton.
Yeah.
And Julie is in love with him. She thinks he's hot. And one of her friends mentioned, he's going to be at my party. All right, this is off to a good start. And then she breaks up with Tommy. And again, Tommy puts up such bravado. I will say this, in comparison to Fast Times, none of the actors looked age appropriate.
Yeah, that's the same thing. It not even just the kids, but their parents. Like the one girl's parents, Julie's parents, looked the same exact age as her.
Well, so I think we kind of got it through. They gave the parents a backstory. The dad looked older than both, but he started dating her mom when she was 16.
Yeah.
So we can imagine that Julie was born when she was 18, and her and her parents just got married the previous September.
Mm-hmm.
So that's understandable. So we go to the beach where all the girls are in love with Randy as he's running down, and Julie and him are eye fucking each other. It's kind of hot. They're into each other. And then when E.G. Daly and one of the other girls were at the food stand, I think it was Stacy, played by Heidi Holliker, we're at the food stand. They start talking about the party, and Fred, who is a very underrated character in this movie, memorizes the address. And then he runs up to Nick Cage and tells him that they are going to the party. He's seen the girls. It's going to be spectacular. What we don't know at this time is they are not Valley dudes. They are from Hollywood, which is the whole opposite side of the world from them. They're gritty, they're poser punks, and they will not fit in when they get to the party. And Susie at the party, we learn, is she is in a competition with her mom, actually her stepmom. Her dad died. She's taking care of her. And I'm going to tell you, Leigh Purcell is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
She was beautiful. I saw her, the only other movie I've seen her in was the Wes Craven made-for-TV film, Summer of Fear. And I hate to say it, I feel like I would be more at home in Hollywood, but man, that party looked awesome. They were having sushi. Who
Yeah.
the fudge has sushi at a party?
That's funny that you just brought up Summer of Fear. I was the whole time I was watching this, I was like, where have I seen her from? And yeah, that was it.
Yeah, Summer of Fear. I think that's a really good film.
Yeah.
So Randy shows up, and basically the whole party just stops when him and Fred walk in the door. Tommy is trying to hit on every woman, and I'm going to say very nice for Tommy that he was very diverse. He did not care about race. He did not care about anything. He just cared about making Julie jealous. Then when he notices that Randy and Julie are having this really intense conversation, he goes and breaks it up. First of all, he has no right to break it up. It's not his house. And him and his Val dude buddies just kicked them out. Randy refuses to leave because no one's going to tell him if he can or cannot score with Julie. So Randy goes back in, hides in the shower, and we just hear some of the most stupid shit from people who are in the bathroom. One of Tommy's Val dude bros is trying to score with a girl, but she doesn't want to. It came pretty close to rape in there.
Yeah.
People are doing drugs, and then finally Julie comes in. They have a conversation, and he convinces her to come to Hollywood with him, and she brings her friend along. And I forgot, Tommy hooks up with the E.G. Daily character. And again, something I didn't notice when I first watched it. Just when she asked him, "Does this mean we're going out?" And then he basically says, "How can you do this to Julie? She's your best friend."
Yeah.
It shows how much of a dick he is, but it also reminds us that these are still kids.
Yeah. And Tommy, I could not take him seriously the entire movie because every time the camera went to his face, all I could picture was him just staring at me going, "My name's Buck and I'm here to fuck."
Michael Bowen is a great actor, but to me, he'll always be Tommy, the best Val dude. I don't get it why his buddies just followed him blindly.
Yeah.
And why was one wearing a handkerchief around his neck? It's obvious.
Yeah, it was weird because everyone at the school really kind of followed him blindly. Like all of Julie's friends were like, they just kept saying how totally tubular he was.
Yeah, I used to be tubular when I was stuck in a tube. That was stupid.
No, it was good.
So I think when they're driving into Hollywood, is probably one of a great scene. First of all, I did not realize when I first saw this movie, I thought they were all filmed at the same time, but obviously most of that was ADR.
Yeah.
With the reactions. But again, it was really cool. It was really cool. It was not cool when the remake of Valley Girl used that footage when they went into to Hollywood. But they got to go to a bar and they got to see the Plimsolls for free. I love the Plimsolls. I love Stan Case. I just think it's amazing that they got to do that. At that point, Randy does one of the greatest moves ever. He says, "When can I see you again?" And he just says he speaks his mind. So Randy likes Julie. But we got to talk about Fred and Stacy. First of all, Fred coming to the party, I like tacos. I'm a Capricorn. I like tacos. And Stacy wants nothing to do with him. She wants to go to the valley, back to the valley where it's safe. And the thing is, he is wearing her down. She likes him more than she's admitting it.
Yeah. Yeah. She starts off just being total buzzkill. And then by the end, when they're just making out in the car, she's definitely kind of opening up. It might just be from drinks or whatever that the bar somehow gave them. I don't know when the drinking age changed to 21, but
So I'm going to take it you were never part of a punk scene in the 80s and early
I was
90s.
I was not.
I was a poser punk like Randy was, and we used to go to this bar called Bookies, which was a punk rock bar in a not so nice area of town. It was off 6 Mile and Woodward, and the rule was if you could were stood above the counter, you would get served. They didn't fucking care. It was an amazing time. Amazing time. It's amazing that I never got my ass kicked in there. But
Yeah. Do you do a lot of stupid stuff?
I did a lot of course, I was a kid. Always asking the DJ to play the Smiths. Real cool. I digress. There was another bar that used to serve me called City Club, and they were playing some ska, and I went skanking on the floor, and I was so drunk I was hitting people. Should have got my ass kicked that night.
Maybe it was just understood.
That kid's gonna have enough problem. Let's not kick his ass tonight. So then Randy and Julie start having a relationship. He goes to her work. She leaves. Her dad's sandals finally wore out after 18 years, which means she was probably conceived while he was wearing those sandals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep on going back and forth. At the party, Susie had a crush on a guy named Skip. When he showed up, her mom started having impure thoughts about him. We get back to that in a minute. So we see Stacy and Randy go through a date montage, and then we see Skip delivering groceries to Stacy's house. And let me just tell you, he could have banged Stacy's mom. Because Stacy's mom had it going on. And then
Yeah.
some of the weirdest dialogue about plastics.
Yeah.
And then timing, because Susie was going to be home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and then for one scene, Susie has a little sister. And then she doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty confused by that part.
Yeah. At this point, the girls start trying to convince Julie to get back with Tommy. And then she breaks it off with Randy. She thinks, all right, I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to lose my status. I don't want to be untouched. I want to be included at school. She fell hard to peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then Randy starts showing up at every job. he's the usher at the movie theater wearing 3D glasses. This movie in 3D? No, but your face is. Still one of the greatest lines in cinema history. Then he's working at the drive-in restaurant. How the hell did Randy get all these jobs? And then when he realizes that the relationship's going nowhere, he gets drunk, goes into Hollywood, goes to the bar where he once again gets to see the Plimsolls for free. And then gets almost killed in a fight. And he could have had sex with a gutter punk chick.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy is torn. She loves Randy. She's with Tommy. And then Fred has a plan to get them back together. They go to the junior prom. They sneak into it. Fred has no plan.
Yeah.
Then, as the teacher is giving a story about the prom queen and how she never was the prom queen, Randy and Tommy get into a fight. Randy knocks him out. Him and Stacy leave, and then they take Tommy's limo to the Sheraton to presumably have sex. Question. They knew where they were going. Why didn't Tommy and his Val dude buddies go there? But Valley Girl is, in my opinion, a very sweet movie. But before we get into it, I'm going to talk about my history with this film. It was New Year's Eve, 1984. And my family and Eric's family went out for a New Year's Eve dinner. And then I think we were going to a hockey game afterwards. And Eric was like, I've seen this movie. It's the greatest movie ever. It's called Valley Girl. Now, Eric would always make yearly trips out to California because his cousins lived in the Valley, and he would bring back mixtapes from K-Rock, which was the alt music radio station then, and he would bring back soda called Aspen soda that was only available in LA in a test market thing, talk about Del Taco, Carl's Jr.'s, and In-N-Out Burger. And then it's like, you got to see this movie. You got to see this movie. I'm like, I come over next week. I recorded it. And then we watched it. I liked it. I didn't think it was as good as Fast Times because this was a pure out and out rom-com. But I think it had an amazing soundtrack. You had songs like The Fanatic, Johnny, Are You Queer? And another song from Josie Cotton, because I think the movie was putting Josie Cotton, pushing them pretty hard in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Like Atlantic Records had one mission in life to get Josie Cotton to be one of the most popular singers of all time. We also had Modern English's Melt With You. Man, the Plimsolls, A Million Miles Away. And then their other song, that's a story. No, that's I can't remember what the other song is called, but an amazing soundtrack. And the more I watched it, the more I loved it. And again, like with my friendship with Eric, it became a very important part of our life, including 4th of July, 1985. We always had a family barbecue at either our house, his house, or the Herman's house. And Eric came to it dressed like Nick Cage. And no, I think it was 86. It was 86. And Eric came to it dressed like Nick Cage in Valley Girl. And then Steve and this other guy named Gary basically said, hey, we're going to a party. Do you guys want to go? My answer was yes. Because at that point, I had never been to a party, a high school party. And I drove my mom's Volvo there. Eric found this girl whose name was Julie. And as I drove, I had one half of a beer, maybe a sip, and didn't like it. That was the first time I had a beer. And Eric was trying to mac on Julie the entire night. He's basically, this is just like Valley Girl. I'm like, this is nothing like Valley Girl. We're going to get kicked out of here any minute because we don't know anybody at this party. And at the end of it, we left. Eric did not get Julie. I really don't remember much what would happen. I just remember afterward where I was driving home and this Gary guy in the car, let's listen to Dead or Alive. And And I just started singing Dead or Alive, the band. You spin me round. He's like, no, the Van Halen song.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But then Eric puked in the back seat of my car, of my mom's car. And I'm like, all right, you can stay at my house. You can sleep in the basement. Just don't puke. My mom was livid. She called his parents, and his dad, Seymour, when he got there, walked down the basement steps and carried Eric out by the neck. And I'm like, yeah, this is nothing like Valley Girl.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I had to go get my mom's car cleaned, and I had to pay for it. But no, but it's memories like that that just come back to this movie that make it so good. And again, when I first saw it, I liked movies, but I wasn't a cinephile at that point. And I think the first time I got it on DVD, it was one of those fucking flip discs of widescreen, full screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I
You could never tell which side was which.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, I watched it. I'm like, all right, this is a very well-made movie. Is it as well-made as Valley Girl? I'm sorry, as Fast Times? No. But it has a certain amount of charm to it. And it really does a good world building that shows Hollywood and shows the Valley and shows the difference of these kids who are all around the same age. But then we look at Julie, who lives in a nice home with a nice family, but her parents can't be as rich as Susie's mom or her other friend's parents. Because, they seem to have like unlimited money for unlimited clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like they were all well off. Like, Tommy could afford a limo and a ride and the night at the Valley Sheraton. So, but her parents run a health food store. And you get this whole idea that Julie doesn't really fit in with all the other her friends, that she sees the world or sees that there has to be more to it than the life that they live, which consists of shopping, parties, and school.
Right.
And I think I'm going to say this. I always thought Deborah Foreman was miscast as Julie. For some reason, I think E.G. Daly should have been the lead. But I think she looked a little bit too sultry for it. And Julie looked pretty wholesome.
She was the one who Tommy was hooking up with?
Yeah.
That was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something about Julie that was kind of like when she went to that party in the beginning and had that like straight grandma shirt on. There was just something about her that looked like, I don't know, too old fashioned kind of.
That she did not have the money to buy as much as all of her friends did.
Mm-hmm.
But she had Tommy, and Tommy was a self-professed number one Val dude no other Val dude could touch. But hold on. But again, Tommy, much like Damone, had a lot of false bravado.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he claimed that he could get all these chicks, but he couldn't. He could just get Julie. He could get Elizabeth Daly's character, but he didn't want her. He wanted what he couldn't have, like most of us do. But also, this film was much of a vehicle for Nick Cage to become a star. Half of the movie is dedicated to him doing things no real human being would do. Like, get all those jobs to be with Julie. what I did feel was weak about this is they did not have. He was in love with her almost immediately, or
Mhm.
at least he told her that he was in love with her. And we go back to the line of nobody tells him who he can and can't score with. Was this just a long game to have sex with Julie?
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought at first, but I don't know. Kind of one of the things I thought back on, kind of how you were saying that was it. This was kind of a real sweet movie, and it's that whole dating montage I liked because Nicolas Cage makes that comment where he's different and she's just the same as all of her friends, but in that montage he's like doing everything she wants to do, kind of like becoming more like her, more kind of getting more into her world. So I thought that was pretty cool. That kind of took me away from the thought of he was just trying to hit it.
Did you almost throw up a little bit when you saw them standing in front of the Romeo and Juliet marquee at the movie theater?
Yeah. What was the other one? Were they going to see a Get Even, which is what is that? Champagne and Bullets? I thought one of the marquees said Get Even.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but yeah, for Nicolas Cage, like you said, that clearly was like my favorite part of the movie, and I felt like we saw like the whole evolution of Nicolas Cage's career. Like he starts off kind of subdued, and then when he picks up Julie to take her to Hollywood, like if I was in a car with a dude that was acted like that, I would have been like scared for my life. He's like yelling at people, he's going like and then like go from that to he's working all these jobs, playing all these characters, and it's just like what he does now in movies is that exact thing. He's just so over the top, and I thought it was cool seeing that entire evolution just in one of his big first movies.
But some of that ADR, like when they're passing all those the African Americans dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you didn't. It
Yeah.
made no sense. Like he had no idea what the footage was.
Yeah.
ADR.
I thought you were gonna go with the mohawk.
I wussed out. All right, that part was funny.
Yeah.
That part was funny. And again, there were a lot. I mean, again, as I mentioned earlier, Tommy at the party, he just didn't care of what girl he got with to make Julie jealous, which kind of makes Tommy a pioneer, where he just doesn't care about skin tone or race. He's a progressive dude. Though if we ever probably look back at Tommy today, him and Randy both stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Actually, I would love someone to make a TV show like Cobra Kai, where Randy and Tommy became best friends because Julie broke up with both of them and they have to start commiserating. I'd watch that movie.
Oh yeah, she kind of made the Brad mistake too, where she was breaking up with Tommy to go for something better with that other dude.
Oh, Brad just blew her off like that.
Yeah, like didn't even know who she was.
He didn't care.
Yeah, he had that jacket. That's all he needed.
I think Brad might have been the ultimate Val dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, but while it doesn't have the gravitas of Fast Times, it became a classic in its own way. But unlike Fast Times, it did have a horrible musical remake, which might have been one of the worst movies I've seen.
I have not seen that.
I it was on Hulu. I watched it during COVID. I'm like, Oh,
Was there anyone of note in it?
Deborah Foreman made an appearance
Yeah.
as a clerk at a store at the mall. But the heart of the movie was taken out. It was all told as a flashback where Alicia Silverstone played Julie in the present, and the girl from Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You played her in the 80s. Randy had a band. Fred was replaced by the girl who was on Parenthood and in Parenthood, Scott Pilgrim, and Arrested Development. She played not baby. She played the girl George Michael was dating, and every time that he came over, his dad would say her,
Yeah.
which I think was a missed opportunity in Scott Pilgrim when she came to fight him, and his girlfriend forgot to let him know that she dated her, and he just didn't go her. I think that at that point the audience would have just died laughing, like, oh, an Arrested Development joke. This movie's better. Genius.
I'm looking at it now and I see Logan Paul is in it, and that pretty much tells me all
Is
I
it
need to
Logan
know.
Paul or Jake Paul?
It says Logan.
I gotta tell you, Logan Paul might be one of the biggest douchebags in the of the century, but he's had some good matches in WWE. I didn't see last night's SummerSlam because I decided to watch movies instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard he had a really good match with Ricochet. Drop your comments below if you think he did. So how many pink t-shirts would you give this movie? Pink polos.
Pink polos. I'm gonna go 5 pink polos. I did like this one a little more than Fast Times. Might have just been because of Nicolas Cage. Yeah, just
let
really
me ask
liked
you,
it.
who do you think would win in a fight? Nicolas Cage or Nicolas Coppola?
I mean, who knows? Nicolas Coppola doesn't even know how to talk, so
He had a line in the movie. I think around the cruising vessel, he had a line at the beginning.
Maybe I think he actually had an ADR line.
He had what?
Just a line that was ADR'd in.
Oh, probably. Probably.
Um,
I would give this 5 as well.
yeah. One thing between the two, like you said, just the use of music I thought was really, really good. Just the timing of them, you know, literally the lyrics they were saying compared to what was happening on the screen. Just really good.
So what sparked me wanting to do this for the show is Eric said, "Oh, my friend Chris got a copy of the album. He's been looking for it for a while because the album was so hard to get." And Eric said, "I think this might be a reprint." I'm like, "Can you send me a picture of it?" And he's like, "Sure." And I went and had to increase the picture size so I could study it. He paid $30 for an original from the 80s.
Oh.
Good for him. Also, I gotta say, one thing about the poster is they made Nick Cage look like Nick Cage, but Deborah Foreman looked like a porn star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does not even look like her.
Yeah. Oh man, I think sometimes it's good to get out of the grindhouse routine.
Mm-hmm.
But next week we are going back into the world of smut. We are going to talk about the double exposure of Holly, and I'm throwing this one we're going to do a double feature of smut, Pandora's Mirror.
Okay.
May God have mercy on our soul. And we do apologize for last week's episode when we talked about the Ron Orman films. Might not have been our best. There was really nothing.
I liked them. I like those.
Nothing. Again, I have to stay away from exploitation films for a little while. I just can't. even though the Black Emmanuel set as of right now is my set of the year, um, it it hurts. It hurts.
Do we need to watch like All Dogs Go to Heaven or something?
No.
Like something
That movie will make me cry.
okay, that was a bad example.
And not
I'm
all
trying to think
dogs
of
go to
a
heaven.
trying to think of a child cartoon from the 80s, but I feel like literally one of the main characters dies in all of them.
No, I'm okay. It's just like today when I was looking to grab something to watch, I grabbed it off the shelf to try to watch the D'Amato documentary because I heard it and it was only an hour, and I'm like, I can't. I can't. And it's gotten so bad when I put the one that just in and there's the opening menu music, my cat just runs out of the room. I'm like, these movies horrify me. Why are you watching them?
I
But
was going to tell you, if you're looking for a copy of the Fast Times book, there is one used on Amazon for $240.
yeah, I paid $12 or $14 for it. One thing I do want to say, what makes these movies good, and they are time capsules of things that no longer exist. And it's weird that I think kids in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even today, they're all the same. The only difference is the technology that surrounds them. And I mean, we had computers, and one of my friends had a TV that had a phone in it, which seems cool, but isn't. Because if you're watching something, that phone call will interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, it's just a world that doesn't exist. Like almost all the movie theaters that we probably saw in Valley Girl or the place where the bands played no longer exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have become a world of chain stores, and anything that was unique and old was torn down and replaced by Sephora and a Jamba Juice.
Yep. Chipotle and Starbucks everywhere.
Yeah, no one goes to Perry's Pizza anymore. I don't even like it was weird. Like I was watching an Al Adamson movie a couple weeks ago called, I think it was called Sun Cove. I can't remember it. But like a good chunk of the movie takes place at All American Burger. Sunset Cove, the movie Sunset Cove. Not very good at all. When Al Adamson tries to make a sex comedy, it doesn't work. You have a character in it named Chubby, who all he does is eat, and every joke that comes out of his mouth is about food. It doesn't work. It's stereotypical. But before we go and start thinking about next week's films to watch, when to watch them, have you watched anything good out of your collection this week or in the theater?
I finally got to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
All right, I have to ask, how the fuck have you never seen Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 yet?
This was the first Marvel movie that I did not see in theaters.
The last Spider-Man, No Way Home, was the first one I did not see in theaters.
And then I watched just kind of randomly, I watched this new movie on Shudder called Brooklyn 45.
Yeah, I somehow follow the director on Twitter. I have not
Nice.
seen it yet.
I was very pleasantly surprised with it. Not what I was expecting, but I just put it on one night to kind of fall asleep to because the synopsis sounded like it was going to be kind of boring. But I ended up staying up the entire time and watching it and really liked it.
I watched two movies streaming on Max. They were basically the same movie, The Circle and Antitrust. Antitrust involves a computer programmer prodigy going to work for a company like Microsoft, where Tim Robbins plays the owner of it. Software design, either he's hired to work on this big project called Synapse, which will change the way we communicate. Programmers all of a sudden are dying, and they have what they need, keep on getting things they need to complete Synapse by its due date. Then his best friend Teddy dies, is murdered, and his boss said something Teddy said to him, like their last conversation, and he realizes that they're killing people. So it becomes him against this monolithic company that's trying to do something evil. The Circle stars Emma Watson, who goes to work for a big computer social network called The Circle, run by Tom Hanks and Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt does not play a good bad guy.
I was gonna say.
And she discovers that they are doing nefarious things and tries to stop them. Same fucking movie.
Yeah, did you just like, did it just happen to be that way, or did
Well, I was
this
watching
get recommended to you?
I was watching The Circle, and I was like, huh, interesting. Why have I seen this movie before? And then I realized, oh yeah, Antitrust, which I had seen before. And then I went to the great website justwatch.com, and it was on Max. So I'm like, I'm going to watch this. So I literally watched the same movies 2 times. Well, actually, I did not. I watched The Circle on Friday. I watched Antitrust today. I started watching it on Friday, but I could not watch it the same movie 2 times in a row.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Antitrust. I never
Yeah,
watched The Circle.
it stars Ryan Phillippe, Rachel Lee Cook, the hot girl from Mallrats, who played who did not was not the girlfriend of Jason Leigh. And I can't remember what the characters in Mallrats were called. I know Jason Leigh was Brody, and that's it.
Yeah.
But now I mean, I think I gave my review on I didn't review it on the other box. I just gave it a score. I think it was like 1 or half of 1, because the movie was outdated as the technology that was in it. But I don't know. Are you gonna see anything good in theaters this week? Is there anything good opening?
Well, I do really want to see the new Ninja Turtles movie.
I do not.
Other than that, that horror movie came out.
Which one?
Talk to Me, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I heard that's pretty good.
It's getting some buzz. Something else came out too. I don't remember what it was though.
I want to see Cobweb. It's not playing anywhere around
yeah.
here.
Oh, Meg 2 came out.
I never saw Meg 1.
It was entertaining.
Jason Statham versus a prehistoric shark.
And he does some like superhuman things in the water.
Is he playing Hobbs from Hobbs and Shaw? Kind of fast.
Pretty much that combined with like Crank.
I've never seen Crank.
Also, the new Disney movie, Haunted Mansion, came out, the remake, and that actually looks pretty decent.
I have a work friend who has a podcast about horror movies as well, and he had to go see it because they were reviewing it. I'm like, are you watching the original Haunted Mansion movie from, what was it, 2007?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
To compare and contrast, you're like, nope, that movie was really bad. And how the frig can you open a movie called Haunted Mansion in July?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
And movie I think is coming out that I think makes no sense. They're making a Spirit Halloween movie based on the store. People are going to watch a 90-minute commercial.
Is there a trailer yet? It's got to just
I
be
don't.
someone getting stuck in there when the store closes or something.
I'm gonna go look it up right now. I don't think there's a trailer.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
No, probably written by AI. Okay. All right. Rachel Lee Cook from She's All That's in it, and so is Christopher Lloyd. Oh, you can already buy it on Amazon and Apple. So it looks like it came out
Oh,
last year.
really?
Yeah. Oh, it's also on Netflix. The storyline is when a new Spirit Halloween store appears in a deserted strip mall, three middle school friends who think they've outgrown trick or treating make a dare to spend the night locked inside the store Halloween night.
Yep, there it is.
Remember that movie Career Opportunities? They were locked in a Target all night long. And then Jennifer Conley, yeah, was in there and she was hot, and her and then Sean Whalen were like getting along, and these two crooks bust in and they home alone the guy, but only after she rode one of those mechanical horses, and everyone watched her.
I do remember that.
I like that movie, but it's a commercial for Target. I mean, I'm really surprised we haven't seen Kmart, the movie. Walmart. From Arkansas to the world.
There's got to be a Walmart movie.
But here's the thing, it's not like you get stuck in it because most Walmarts are 24 hours. Okay. It could be about a guy really high who went to Walmart and it becomes like a horrifying escape room. That the only way you can get out of lot. Actually, I'm going to write this one: Walmart the movie. I'm going to say, and basically, Sam Walton is still alive, and he is creating jigsaw-esque traps.
You've got to peruse the people of Walmart Reddit also to get some good characters.
I remember when the people of Walmart was a website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do it.
I occasionally go to Walmart to buy groceries, but I don't like going there because the lines are so long.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to have good selection of Blu-rays, but it's just now down to like 3 shelves, or 3 shelves that are all on an end cap.
Mm-hmm. And ours has just tons and tons of DVDs.
Because DVDs are still more popular than Blu-ray and 4K.
Yeah. Gross.
So, I guess we have a few minutes left that we can talk about this. So Disney recently announced that they are pulling out of the Blu-ray 4K market of Australia, which doesn't bode well for the rest of the world. I think they put more stuff into Disney Plus. But here's the thing: as Cyril at Midnight did a good tweet about the importance of physical media and how it's still popular, but not as popular. I don't think we're ever going to see, for a while, these movies not get released. I think we're going to see them they're going to start licensing them to other companies.
Mm-hmm. And I saw somebody posted something about that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 4K, and they were saying that Disney 4K releases were like plagued with problems, and this one was the first one that seemed like they took time to make it look good and the sound was good, so they were saying that that seemed like a step in the right direction, but I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing: they still have not released Barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane.
It has no physical release at all.
Nope.
No. Yeah, that's pretty weird.
I mean, the it went to Max pretty quickly, but that movie would sell like hotcakes because it's a horror film, and we have to remember that horror fans want to buy everything.
Mm-hmm.
And going around full circle, I am glad that you did not buy everything from the partner labels. It must have been such constraint.
It was, but I do have a tab open for each of them that I refresh every day to see how low the slip is getting.
I thought about going back and picking up one the documentary about Uganda films
Mm-hmm.
because I did watch Who Killed Captain Alex from AGFA. The film was utterly fucking insane. And there's two versions of it on there. One where you can watch with the VJ. That's the one I watched. And a VJ stands for Video Jokers. So when you go see movies at movie houses in Uganda, they have a guy and a mic cracking jokes about the movie and talking about it. And it made the movie even more enjoyable than it was. And it was enjoyable. But there's a scene with where kung fu fighting breaks out, and the Video Joker goes, "Everyone in Uganda knows kung fu." I'm like,
The VJ said that.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that movie's about 1 hour and 10 minutes, and it was just, it was just balls to the wall action with some of the worst special effects. I mean, I think I paid maybe $85 or $200 to make this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that disc is a volume one, isn't it?
Well, let's put it this way: it originally came out before the OCN deal, and I did not buy it because it looked uninteresting to me. And again, the movies were, not or were still made this century, so I did not pick it up. Um, I think it was the only AGFA title pre-OCN that I did not buy, and I was stupid not to because it's just an enjoyable film.
Yeah, hopefully they release more of them.
I have well, how well is it selling?
Let me open it here. Says there is 1,200 left out of 2,000, but this whole past month they're all selling really slow.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of sales.
I just saw one of the screenshots and it just shows a little kid standing there and it says Wesley Snipes.
The VJ had some great lines in there. All right. We'll talk about those movies at some point, but this is a long show. Like, subscribe, complain, compliment in the comments. We just want to know that you're out there. And we'll be back next week with another double feature of Pandora's Mirror and the double exposure of Holly. We'll see you all next week.
You guys.